If you are looking to build agentic AI systems that actually run your business, content, outreach, ops, admin, there's probably no one I would point you faster at than Simon Coton, aka Simon Scrapes, the creator of the Agentic Academy. Today, we are diving deep into the fastest way I've found to go from I've never touched Claude Code or N8N into I have working AI automations running my business using Claude Code or N8N. I'm Martin Boeddeker, founder of FindFocus and author of Clarity on Demand, and I have been deep into AI for personal development and business for years, and I've built my own version of Simon's agentic operating system, and I've been a paying VIP member of Agentic Academy for a couple of months now, so I'm sure we have some interesting things to talk about. Hello, Simon. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me here. Super excited to talk about agentic workflows. And I think you hit the nail on the head as well, which is what we're about, which is taking somebody from potentially zero experience in Claude Code to somebody that can actually build and save time with in their business or otherwise in their personal life by actually producing these agentic workflows.
So before we go into your YouTube channel and the school community, give us a 30-second background, like who you are and what were you doing before even getting into AI automation and creating the school group, the Agentic Academy.
Yeah, sure. So many years ago now, mate, 10 years ago, I was at university doing mechanical engineering. So nothing particularly technical, but quite maths and physics heavy. And that's how I've come about like structuring everything. So I'm a very logical problem solver that needs to start at the very basics of understanding and then work out how that applies to real life. So I've done a whole host of different roles, mostly non-technical. I was a head of ops previously at a startup, and it was all physical operations. And then after that, decided to actually dig deeper into automations to make my life more efficient, make other people's work more efficient, and kind of went down the rabbit hole of actually, do I want to code? Went down the rabbit hole of coding, realized that wasn't for me. I'm not a particularly good dev or coder at all. It was very, very slow and painful, and it led me to faster ways to code. Hence, I fell into N8N, which is a brilliant tool, very visual. And now Claude Code is starting to overtake it in terms of the ease of use. But also, once you understand the foundations, you can almost build anything on top of it, even if you start from a non-technical background like I did.
Yeah, so when I did the research about you, I saw like you had a consultancy and everything. But walk me through the moment that you realized like your school group, the Agentic Academy, needed to exist. What was the problem you or your users facing, or what were your ideas about school and how you joined the whole ecosystem and building this kind of community?
Yeah, so I started in December. It must be a year and a half ago now, in December 2024. And the reason I actually started my YouTube channel was because I had started servicing clients by building AI automations for them. So actually going into businesses, mainly through Upwork, so it was completely global, and actually building out things that were going to save them time day to day, getting rid of all the admin work they didn't want to do. I then noticed some others in the space, similar space, which started to kick off around ChatGPT days. Others in the space were starting to produce content around this. So I actually thought maybe this is a really good way to acquire more clients, take myself off of Upwork, and actually, start my own business around AI automations. So that's when I started producing content, and the speed at which that content got picked up encouraged me to understand, and all the comments from the YouTubers encouraged me to understand that actually there was a real community forming around this new exciting stuff. And in particular, there was like two spectrums of thought. There was flashy demos that didn't work particularly well in production, and there were some very production heavy production grade automations. And I really wanted to sit towards the production grade automations. I've worked in various different businesses in the past, and I know what it's like to actually feel the pain of day-to-day working on certain tasks in operations, in various things, marketing, etc. And I wanted to help those people actually find a way to build for themselves these automations which can save them time too.
So
So
what? What was the first version of this like? I bet it was very different from what we have today in your community with over 1,300 members at the time of recording this.
Yeah, 100%. The first version was very much, actually, I learned a lot from my mistakes. When they say build a startup, right? They say validation is number one, distribution and validation. So when I first tried to actually build a startup years ago, I focused completely on the wrong thing. I built everything out and then tried to go and get customers. I did the opposite this time, and we had a framework of a course, which was an N8N course at the time. And I basically put it out there, put it on YouTube, got a couple of people in the group for free just to validate the ideas, started building out that course, and then eventually that helped create the content. So I was basically using the user validation to create the course content around what the demand, or it was demand-led planning around the course content. So it was very, very different to what it looks like today, because it was just a skeleton of a course. And we probably even then had too much content on there, just because when you start these things out, you think people want more and more content. But as I've learned over time, it's actually less content that's more focused where we sit and where we think the important value is in for people. Especially if you go on YouTube, you search Claude Code, there's like 200 to 1,000 videos a day coming out on this topic. So it's not about the quantity of stuff you put out, it's about the value of the stuff you're putting out.
Exactly. I'm a huge fan of the Pareto law and really optimal, like knowing the 20% that gives you 80% of the results, or just the 4% that gets you like 50% of the results, or 60% to get started as fast as possible. So let's get practical. Like, let's imagine I'm a small business owner or solopreneur spending way too much time on repetitive work, content, LinkedIn, outreach, maybe operational stuff in my business. Walk me through exactly like how I would use Agentic Academy and what I learn in there to solve that with Claude Code or N8N.
Yeah, so you first got to start at the process of understanding what processes are costing you in terms of time and money. So there's almost no point looking at Claude Code until you understand what problems you actually want to solve. So say, for example, one of my personal problems is I really, as a solo founder and somebody with a small team and not a large team, I really don't like putting my time into making LinkedIn posts. That is an example of something that actually is beneficial for my business and growing my business, but doesn't add value into my own time, and actually is almost like a detractor or a subtractor from my own personal happiness. So that is something that I've identified personally. And therefore, like if I was in that position where I've actually got a list of, okay, these are the processes that my business does day to day, this is them ranked by the priority. And the priority is, do they cost me a lot of money, or do they cost me a lot of time? Me or my employees or my business associates. I would then start going down that list and start to break down each individual task within that process map. So say, for example, it is the LinkedIn content creation. When you break that down into its principles, I have to go and do some research to understand what topic I want to write about. I then do some deeper research on that topic and what people are writing about in that space. I then break it down into a third step, which is, okay, I've got some content ideas. What does the hook look like for this? I then have a post body. I then want to attach visuals to it. So when you break down one of the high priority tasks into its sub steps, you start to understand which parts of that you could then actually automate. So when you're at that point and you understand, okay, this is exactly what I want to automate, and this is what my process looks like today, I then reach out for a tool. And that's when I start exploring, is it N8N? Is it Claude Code, or is it just manual? Do I just need to actually outsource this to someone else? The answer isn't always, okay, I need Claude Code, I need AI automation, just because that's the hot trending topic. But if you want to stay small, then actually automation and AI is what's going to help you scale without actually hiring in the end. So once I
One
have that,
thing I
yeah.
think we talked about also in the chat was like how easy it is to get lost in the rabbit holes of AI. And for example, like the school ecosystem and the AI learning system is full of automation, AI automation communities right now. We talked about like Julian Goldie, who's like putting out like crazy amounts of content, is in the SEO AI space. Plenty of YouTube creators are running their own communities. How does the Agentic Academy actually differ? What are you doing that the rest is not?
Yeah, so two key differences we have to all the others or a lot of the other communities out there. One is we focus on that Pareto principle, which we've covered already. This is the core content that you need to know. We distill all the noise from the thousands of YouTube videos every single day into a curriculum that you can follow. And the second is actually the plug and play systems. So we already mentioned that we're not about flashy demos. We actually want to deliver business value. So we create systems on your behalf that are effectively plug and play. You can come in as a business owner and get, 100-hour head start on building out these systems for yourself. So you learn the foundations behind how the systems are built, and then you actually get to just one line install, they're in your system, and you start playing with them from day one. So the way we've designed it is to basically accelerate the way in which you can adopt and use AI in your business, because we know that everyone is time poor and we want to block out the noise and help people with that.
So let's talk about time and the learning curve. In your experience, like, and I want you to be really honest here. Like, how long does it take someone to see their first win, and what can they achieve in their first like days or a few weeks of joining the academy?
Yeah, so we've kind of designed our system in particular for like accelerated wins. So we want everyone to get their win within 7 days. So what we've designed is a curriculum where whether you're pursuing N8N or Claude Code, the first 7 days is where you will actually build out your first simple automation. So you can get your first automation as quickly as that. And then following on from that, what we're trying to teach are the principles and the foundations behind every automation. So it's the logic that never changes, that whether you're going to use Claude Code, whether you're going to use N8N, whether you're going to use the software that's out next year, the logic never changes. It's all data flow, inputs, outputs, etc. That's what we're trying to teach underneath. So we try and get those wins in quick, and then maybe it's 3-4 weeks of practical projects until you can start actually applying this to your own business workflow. Some people have more time and can dedicate and get something out within a week. Some people have less time, it takes them 2 months. But we're basically trying to aim to get you to an automation in the first 7 days. And then within 30 days, you're ready to start implementing this in your own business.
So if you really think about it, and if you're looking at the members inside your community, like who would you say is your absolute perfect customer, and who on the opposite side should probably not join the paid community of yours? So who's
Yeah.
this the right fit for?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Who is the perfect customer? We kind of have seen historically two types of people join. The first is that time poor business owner that wants the shortcut head start. They know this stuff can add value to their business, but they don't necessarily know the path on how to get there. So that is persona one, let's call it. And then we've got a second persona where actually they come from a background like myself and wanted to start an automation agency and sell this to other businesses. And that person is mainly looking for probably less of the foundations, but more of the plug and play stuff, because you can take this stuff off the shelf and then sell it immediately with some customization to a client, for example. It's a really good question. Who is not the ideal customer? Probably somebody that wants to keep up with every single update in the space. We're not focused on every update. We're trying to distill only the important updates and keep the content minimal. If you want, 20 hours of contact time every week, then this probably isn't for you, because what we're trying to do is actually minimize the noise so you can maximize value and maximize it in your own automations.
And I think this was really what resonated with me when I saw your YouTube videos, and the reason why I joined. And like it's because before I had been using ChatGPT and Typing Mind, which is a software that plugs into the APIs of Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude, and that worked really well for me. But then with agentic workflows, what is possible with Claude Code, that added a complete new layer on top of this. So but tell me, to make other people excited, tell me about a member that really got it, someone whose results even surprised you.
Yeah, we've got a actually long-standing member now. I think he's on his second year, called Ronnie inside the community, and he started with absolutely zero technical knowledge. Like last year, he couldn't even define workflow. He barely knew what AI actually meant. He had just gone on to ChatGPT, but actually within a few months of consistent work, like outside of this, he is a smoothie shop owner and he's got several other businesses, but he's really engaged and understands how to deliver value to people. So Ronnie actually decided, I'm going to use this to make my smoothie shop more effective and efficient. And I'm also going to sell these to other people. So within a few months, Ronnie had created inside N8N a bunch of chatbots that effectively helped people out with their daily accounting and all their daily business customer comms, and was actually selling those, packaging them up and selling them to his friends, to colleagues, to other people that he knew in his business circle as well. So like Ronnie is kind of testament to somebody who's come from like absolutely zero. We've got a testimonial from him, which is amazing. He even says himself, like, I thought I was out the game. I started from absolutely zero, and now I'm literally selling these products to businesses. I never thought I would consider myself like technical. And yeah.
Okay, is there any feature or system that power users in your community love, that maybe someone who's just like thinking about joining, that beginners don't even know about?
I think just the system that we're using at the moment, like you've talked about a few times, the agentic operating system, like the idea around this is that it's a one-stop shop for all of your context management. So when you start on something like Claude, or you're just prompting LLMs in general, when you're talking to ChatGPT, like you start to understand when you read the theory about it and you see the limitations when you're working with it. Everything distilled down is all about managing your context well. So what you tend to do as a beginner is either give no context and get generalized outputs, or give way too much context, and that actually dilutes the ability for Claude to reason, and gives you also poor quality output. So there's somewhere in the middle, which is actually just proper context management. And what we've done with the agentic operating system is like spin up your business context into set folders and a bunch of standard operating procedures, which are called skills. And all we're doing with that is like when you're talking to your ChatGPT or your Claude Code, we're just injecting the right information at the right time. So it's all your business context, but just injected at the right time, which then means your output quality is 10x improved. And the same goes for things like memory systems too. We built in memory systems so that actually we can store information that seems amazing on the surface. When somebody logs back in and they go, and you get told, yesterday we completed this project, would you like to finish off this task? It feels amazing as a person, but underneath it's just managing context.
This feedback absolutely aligns with what I've seen from the community, and the templates are production ready. And what I liked specifically is also how you explained like which planning framework to use for which task. So there's one thing where you just like chat, and one there's where you create a PRD. I even forgot what that is, but it's basically a document where you a production ready development framework. And then there's GST, which is like a super complicated, long form, super detailed framework for coding complete apps and things like this. And the way you're teaching this, so you pick the right framework for the right task, and therefore not waste, not go with a knife to a gunfight,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Exactly, because like the fundamental problem is actually these are just three frameworks from hundreds out there. But these are three that we've tested again and again on projects. And we've actually decided, with abiding by this 80-20 principle, we don't need any of the other stuff. We just need to put in front of people the best frameworks for injecting the right context. And in that case, it's all about your planning frameworks for complex projects. So yeah, they've been really well received.
Okay, let's talk about how much pricing and how much it costs to join your academy. Currently, like, you have different plans. The standard plan is $37 a month. The premium is, I think, $7 a month, and the VIP is an annual, which currently sits at $647. Like, how do you approach pricing? Because I noticed when I joined, it was cheaper. You raised your pricing. So what's a good reason for people to join right now and not wait later? And what's your philosophy on this?
Yeah, although we are all about reducing content, what we're doing is still distilling all the most valuable content. So our systems are effectively getting more powerful and smarter over time. So the value is effectively increasing, even if the amount of content stays roughly the same inside the community, not to overwhelm you. So like what we're doing is we are adding a bunch of skill systems that will, and we can talk about that in a moment, which will form, out the box use cases that businesses can deploy with one click. And once we have those skill systems, the amount of value inside the community massively increases. So we are going to eventually increase the price when we hit a certain number of members. And to accommodate for the fact that we want to keep it really refined in the community and almost gatekeep the value that we've got inside there.
And one thing that you probably don't know about, like, I'm about to start my own Skool community. So if somebody joins with my affiliate link at findfocus.net/go/Simon, then he will also get complimentary access to my Skool community, which is valid for the first 10 people that join. So just wanted to throw that in.
Awesome.
And before we dive in and conclude this interview here, like, where is the community headed? What are you most excited about for Agentic Academy in the next, let's say, 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, I'm super excited about these skill systems that we're bringing out. So, like most people that have been introduced to Claude Code will understand the concept of skills, which are effectively a bunch of context for a process document in one place. But skills are mainly considered like used in isolation. So you might have a copywriting skill, which helps you write your copy. And the process that you would undergo day to day, you might understand if you've used ChatGPT. You ask ChatGPT to write you a nice LinkedIn post. It would leverage that copywriting skill, which is just context it pulls from, and creates a nice LinkedIn post. But as a business owner, you're still left doing the topic research. You're still left doing the scheduling on LinkedIn or putting it directly on LinkedIn. You're still left actually going and getting the visuals for that. So the idea of skill systems is this novel concept, which is also not novel because it's well heard of, which is effectively just packaging them up as an automation. So you have a series of skills that run sequentially. The inputs from one the outputs of one pass to the input of the next skill. And what that does is eradicate an entire chain of manual tasks that you would traditionally do, instead of just having these single isolated skills that still revolve around you actually chatting back and forth. So we actually had a poll inside the community where everyone voted on the skill systems that they'd like to see, i.e. the workflows that they'd like to see. And we've got a whole bunch planned for May, where we'll bring out these skill systems and effectively build out complete automations that you can run, with the click of a button or on a schedule from Claude Code.
So before we wrap up, one last question is, where do you see this whole AI automation industry, or AI in general, going? What's the trend most people are going to miss until it's maybe like even too late?
Yeah, so I think there are, like, Claude Code is excellent. It's not the be all and end all. There are other models catching up. We've got like Codex and things like that. But I think I'll refer back to what we talked about already, which is context management. If you're going to learn one concept in this space, going forwards that will always be important in this space. It's all about managing context well and injecting it at the right time. And the reason I say that is because model providers like Anthropic have no reason to give you these planning frameworks and all these other things, because their idea is to actually keep their platform super flexible. But as a business owner, what we actually want to do is work out what are the right tools to use at the right time, and therefore, put some constraints around our own workflows. So think about constraints in terms of context management. That is going to be the principle that's going to be prevalent across the next year. And you're already starting to see that trend emerge, because everyone's talking about memory, everyone's talking about agentic operating systems, business operating systems, life operating systems. It's all around this, and I think that's going to be the topic for 2026.
Okay, so last question. For someone who's currently watching this, they're interested but maybe skeptical. They have been burned by other like overhyped AI courses maybe that promised the world and delivered like results. Like what would you tell somebody who's on the edge of joining your community?
It's all about consistency. It's not for everyone, but actually what you can do is come into the community, give it a go. If you don't like the stuff, then it's probably not going to benefit you either. So you can just get a refund if you don't like the stuff. We only want you there if it's actually benefiting and valuing you too. So definitely give it a go, because we've designed the course around a lot of feedback for people, and we're trying to condense all the noise and kind of block that out and make it as valuable as possible for you.
And I can only confirm this, like if you want the fastest path, like I have found I've never used Claude Code, or I'm still stuck with ChatGPT or Gemini, to like true agentic systems, the way we talked about this here, then I highly recommend to check out Academy using the link below this video, findfocus.net/go/Simon. And I will also publish a super in-depth blog post covering everything that I've learned from the community. So for somebody who wants to read that, they can also check out the blog post. As I said, as a bonus for the first 10 people who join with my affiliate link, they will also get complimentary access to my Skool community. Personally, I'm focused on like how to use AI for personal development, because I found with AI and all the capabilities, to make our goals like come true, like all we need to do is right now ask AI the right question and then the right follow-up question. That's the way I see it. And that's what I'm doing. So thank you, Simon, very much for the interview. Any last words from your side?
That was brilliant. Thank you so much. And I'm excited to see also your community. In terms of final words, just if you're on the fence about getting started, whether it's my community, YouTube, like there are a lot of resources out there, whether it's Martin's community, there are a lot of resources out there. Give it a go. You'll be surprised at the results you can achieve in a short space of time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Simon. It was great to having you here.
Thank you so much.